Hey everybody, this is me, the Undead Viking, and this is a game called The Faceless. Ooh, this guy's scary, isn't he? Okay, so The Faceless is a cooperative game in which the players are a group of children that have entered into this, like, mystical world where one of their friends, Ethan, has vanished. And he said that this, like, kind of demon or otherworldly creature that he calls the Billy Goat has taken him. And he is, like, has become, like, part of this, like, world or whatever. Like, his memories have been absorbed, and he is no longer able to return. So the players, like, of course, as kids, like, you know, this whole, like, Stranger Things, you're probably thinking about that, as well as I did when I read about the game, is that, you know, of course, the kid, nobody believes the kids, right? You know, they're crazy, you know, the kid just ran away or something like that. So they take it upon themselves to enter into the weird realm where the Billy Goat lives, and they're going to try to reclaim all of Ethan's memories, and if they can take back his memories, then he can come back and he can leave this world that he's trapped in. So the game is really super cool because of the fact that it is a co-op, it has some card play and things like that, but the game is dictated by a bunch of magnets that you're going to be using on the board that are going to move around the board that are going to affect this compass. And the compass is you. You are going to move this compass on the board. It isn't a game where normally you're going to be able to, like, move, like, I'm going to move my compass 3 spaces. You go in any direction you want. You can kind of have some control sometimes, but for the most part, the magnets, of course, will affect the compass and will make it point in different directions. And depending upon the directions that it points, it'll either point you towards the places you want to go, mainly Ethan's memories, or it'll point you towards bad things, like into, like, the boundaries and into obstacles, or even worse, into the Billy Goat himself, in which case then you will lose the game. So let me show you how the game is played. It is really, really cool, and then we'll come back here and I'll give you my final thoughts. Alright, let's dive in and I'll show you how to play the game of The Faceless. Okay, so the idea is, as I said, you are a group of children that have gone into this other world that is represented by this area here. And Billy Goat, the bad demon guy, is right there. And you do get, I did set this up, and when you set up the game, there are certain things that you have to do, like you have to put down these little cardboard counters here. And I should also mention, this is a prototype that I was sent, so what you're seeing here is not like the final look of the game. But you do put down these obstacles. So basically, as you're moving around this world, you want to avoid the obstacles. I'll explain why here in just a little bit. Basically, running into obstacles is bad. It causes you to lose the game, possibly, but keep that in mind. As with any co-op game, there's, you know, a few different ways that you can lose. As I said, running into obstacles is possibly a bad thing. I'll explain how it isn't bad. You can kind of protect yourself for a little while if that happens. The Billy Goat guy here, the horrible demon thing that wants to eat your memories and consume you, will move around the board, and he will try to track you down. And you are represented by this compass that is located right there. And if he ever ends up in the same spot as the compass, then you lose the game because he's captured you. The other way you lose is if you go through the entire deck of cards. You know, this isn't a game where you get to shuffle the deck and, like, start over. If you go through that entire deck, then you will lose the game. So the way you win, the game is that you need to move around the board and collect these memories. Each player will get a kid card. The kid cards will actually give you a special power that you have. It just, you know, kind of breaks the rules. You know, and depending upon if you play with all 4, obviously all 4 will be in play. You know, so like this kid here, he can play. This symbol means they can play 2 cards on their turn instead of just playing 1 card. This card gets to peek at the top of the deck to see what the next card is going to be. This one, they can trade a card with another player as a free action. And normally that takes an action to do so. And this person can have 4 cards in their hand instead of 3. So you'll randomly, each person get one of those cards, and then you will set up the board. You put these obstacles where you like, and then the players decide where they want to put the Billy Goat. Now, you might be thinking, oh, you want to put them far away or whatever. You kind of want them in the middle, but away from you as well. You know, he will move around the board, and he doesn't get to, you know, he won't get stuck on anything. You know, it's his world, so you don't, you can't really play the game that way. But the big thing is that you want to be able to get him, situated in such a way that like he isn't close enough to get to you, but also he isn't, you know, so far away that he starts affecting the other magnets. And as I said, this is a magnet game because, well, this is a compass, and as you know, compasses are affected by magnets. There are these 3 faceless icons there, and by moving those around the board, they will allow you to move in a certain way. Now, the compass here, as you can see, we're starting right here. The compass has a red spot and the white spot. The red spot tells you which direction you're going to go. So right now we're actually in pretty good shape. We're 2 spaces away from a memory, and we're actually pointed in the right direction right there. So like depending upon the cards that you get, you might be able to move over and grab that. Now this is how the game works, and this is like one of the the cool aspect of the game. You know, as the mechanism of the game is the magnets themselves. And each one of these, and I'll just pick this up, and so like each one of these has a colored side, as you can see, and a white side. So the colored side, and now you can probably see this, will attract the magnet, as you can see. And the white side will actually push it away, as you can see. Now, the one cool thing about Billy Goat is that you actually do place it so you are making it that he is pushing away from the magnet. One, because if he was, like, you know, attracting it, it would make the game really tough because he would just want to pull the compass right to him right away. But also, you know, theme-wise, the kids want to run away from the monster, so he's always going to be pushing them away. But remember, the other magnets have an effect on that as well. And so, you know, what you'll be doing is you will be moving these magnets around the board, and also you'll end up having to move Billy Goat, or maybe you'll move it on your own anyway. You'll move the Billy Goat and the compass, and all of the different magnets are strong enough that all of them are having an effect on the magnet at any given time, depending upon where they're at. So there's a couple other things, depending upon if the magnet is pointing in between 2 spaces, like I can kind of get it, so it kind of does here. It's, you know, obviously it's a compass, so you can't really do that. If it ever is pointing in between 2 locations where you kind of move, the players get to decide which one it goes to. So that's a good bonus that they have in that case. So the way the game works is you determine whoever the first player is going to be, and then they're going to take an action. There's several different options. Most often you're going to be playing a card. And also I should mention that this is the threat area of the board over here. Those cards, depending upon how difficult you want the game to be, will be populated with, you know, 5 or more cards to start the game. The more threat cards over there, it's kind of like the mechanism of the game that will cause bad things to happen, because at the end of each player's turn, you'll be drawing a card from the deck as a threat card and having it affect the board in some way. Alright, so let's talk about the different actions that you can do. Alright, for starters, I'm gonna do the actual playing card from your hand one last as far as your options go, because of the fact that that one actually has the most to do with what's going on the board. But you can draw cards into your hand up to 3, or if you're the kid who can have 4 cards in their hand, you can draw cards until you have 4. Then you just replenish your hand, and it goes, and then you're gonna process the rest of the turn. You can trade cards, which once again, the one kid can do that as a free action, but you can trade cards, and then you just trade cards with you and another player, keeping in mind that you only allowed to have 3 cards in your hand at any time, unless you are the one kid that can have up to 4. You can also pass your turn, and a lot of times you will end up passing your turn because of the fact that you just don't have any good options. If you play a card out of your hand, maybe you have 3 cards in your hand, so you don't need to draw any. Maybe nobody needs to trade. And maybe the cards that you have in your hand are going to cause something bad to happen on the board, so you're going to pass your turn. Now, you can't just keep passing your turns. Remember, time isn't running against you. You're going to run out of this deck of cards because you have to draw a threat card on your turn. So, you can pass sometimes just to prevent yourself from losing, but you can't just keep passing over and over again in the hopes that eventually you can get the perfect combination of things going on to do your turn. And also remember you know, you're always under the threat of the possibility of the billy goat catching up with you. All right, so play a card from your hand. So I gave myself these 3 cards. Remember, and these cards are shown open. Like you don't have hands. Your hand is placed in front of you, so everybody can see the cards that you have. And so I just dealt myself 3 cards, and you'll notice that this one is green, this one is blue, and this one just has a compass in their hand. There's also cards that are red. I'll just grab this one right here. There's cards right here that are red, and there's ones that are yellow as well. Now the yellow, blue, and green cards all refer to these guys. Like this one's the yellow one, this one is the blue one, and that one there is the green Faceless. When you play one of those cards, so like if you play like this green Faceless, you are allowed to pick up the marker that represents that Faceless, and then you get to place it, you get to move it to any of the other notches on the board, as long as 1, it isn't right next to another one, and 2, you can't pass over one. So I couldn't go from like here to here, because you'd have to pass over this guy to get to that spot. Or I can't move him here, because that would be right next to that. Then, so if I play this card, just think of it that way, you're going to move this, you know, you're going to move 2 spaces after it's done. So my whole goal here is that I want to get him into a spot where I could move it, where I'm going to be close to, or possibly get this memory right here. And I should mention also that when you start the game, you have Billy Goat, you place him on one of the memories that is on the board. And when you place that, then you do collect the memory. And memories are things that you can use as an ability, like this one here is one we claimed, and this one allows, you can turn it over and use it to allow somebody to draw up to 3 cards in their turn, but also they are useful in preventing you losing if you're going to hit an obstacle. But anyway, so let's just say we're going to move that particular, we're going to move the green, and we're going to move him to another spot. So we're going to pick this up, and you know, notice how I picked it up, like that sprang back right there. But we don't want to go that way. So what I want to see happen is I want to try to get it to go the other way. And so what I'm trying to do is, if I move it, this is going to be, if I can move it to there, what's going to happen is that it's kind of pointing in between the 2s. Now notice I can't go, like here would be perfect, right? Because it would show it would be going right there. But I can't do that. But if I move it to here, like I can move it to that spot there. Now here's the interesting thing. So I take that action, I'm going to move it 2. You can't just say I'm going to move 2 and I'm going to go there, because that's where it's pointing. What happens is that you actually have to move it to the next spot, and you'll notice that because of the magnets, it's changed again. So you actually have to move it from spot to spot. And so in this case, then I didn't go where I wanted, so now I have to move it to there. I'm 1 spot away from that. I got to figure out some way, possibly maybe, you know, I'm not going to do the turn, but possibly the next, you know, and we're going to take this card, and we've used that one. Maybe the next player can move this yellow one and get it to maybe repel the magnet back the other way. So that's the cool thing about the game, is that you will put the magnet in a place where, you know, the first move will be great, right? But the second move might not be. All right, so if the second move, like let's say for whatever reason, like we had moved it here, and the second move had caused it to go ahead and hit the obstacle, we're going to lose the game at that point unless we have a memory saved up. If we have a memory saved up, we can use the memory at that time to prevent the loss, but we don't get to use the memory for the special power. So, and that's, like I said, the most fun part of the game is like, oh gosh, you know, where do I move this magnet? And as you play the game, you'll kind of learn how the magnets work a little bit better, and you'll have a really good idea of where you should be putting them and what, you know, to get the desired action that you want. Now, so if you play a purple card, the cool thing about the purple card is you just get to move it. So in all honesty, on my turn, what I should have done, I mean, if I wanted to, I could say I'm going to play this purple card, and by playing that purple card, I get to move it 2 spaces. But remember, I have to make sure that when I move it, remember that arrow's going to move, I can move 2 spaces like that in any direction I want, and I could claim that memory, which, you know, I just did that other one so you can see the action. But in this case, so we collect the memory, and we're going to go ahead and place that memory over to the spot. And this one here allows us, this memory allows us to move the billy goat. Like, you know, if we're in a situation where we're going to lose, we could use that particular action as a, like a, you know, a last-ditch effort to save the game by moving the billy goat. When you play a purple card, you do have to move it the full number of spaces. So if, like, you were 1 space away from that memory and you want it, and you're moving 2, like, you can't, like, move 1 into that spot and then leave it there. I mean, obviously, the 2 spaces could go in either direction, but you have to move the, like, full number of spaces to give it to when it is your turn. Alright, so if you play a red card, which is one of these, that allows you to move the billy goat. You know, and you can move the billy goat 1 space in any direction, and you can change its facing if you so desire. So that's just something to keep in mind. That's always going to be an option when you play the red cards. So now after that's done, what you're going to do is you are going to go through what is the threat portion of the turn. When you do your threat, what you do is you're going to draw a card, and you're going to reveal it. In this case, it is a yellow card. Now, and then what you do then is you place that yellow card into the threat action. I should also mention at this point that when you do draw cards, like if you take the action of drawing cards, you are allowed to take cards from the threat area, which is always a good idea because of the fact that the more those cards stack up in the threat area, the more dangerous they become. Alright, so that yellow card there says, for every pair of yellow cards on the display, you choose a figure on the board, and these are the figures. In the game, there'll be miniatures, but in this case, they're just these discs. You're going to pick one of these figures, and you're going to spin it 180 degrees for every 2. So we have 2 there, so we would spin one. Now, we tried to figure out, you know, probably like the one that's going to do the least amount of damage would be this one, because the fact that it's so far away from the magnet, we could do that. But, you know, we'll just see what would happen if, like, we move this one. So if we change this, you'll notice that that's how powerful these magnets are, that just by switching that a little bit, it moved a little bit. So let's just move it back to the other side, see what happens, and see what happens with this one if we move it. Yeah, so now it's pulling it further in that direction. So once again, as you play this game, you will kind of slowly but surely learn, you know, like you'll be able to guess, like, as far as the distance of each one, and do it. Now, obviously, you can't just take each one and pick and try to decide which one you're going to move. You have to, like, pick one and move it. You can't just test each one. You got, yeah. I suppose, I mean, if you wanted to play it that way, you definitely could. But the way we played is once your finger's on it, that's the one you have to pick. All right. So if you draw a blue card for every 2 blue cards, for every pair of blue cards on the threat, you just are going to reveal an event card and add it to the display. So you're just going to keep adding. So like you don't you don't resolve it. You know, like you're doing the blue card. You know, otherwise you just, that would be almost a death sentence in the game. But you do load up the threat area, which is never a good idea. So if you get a green card for a pair of green threat cards in there, each player has to discard a card from their hand. And if you are without cards in your hands and you're forced to discard, then you're going to discard cards off the top of the threat deck. Never a good idea as well. So if you reveal a red card, you will move Billy Goat 1 space towards the team and turn it so that he will face the compass. So, like, you know, if you drew, like, and you move in the closest way, you can't say, oh, he's going to go after them, or he's going to go this way. No, you have to, like, you basically count the spaces, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you know, and 1, 2, 3. So he would turn his red facing, so he's facing it, like, and you go, and let's say, like, for every red card, like, there's 2 red cards on there, so let's say we got another red card. We go 1, 2, and then 3. And so now you can see he's trying to draw him in, you know, and that's not a good thing, right? So when our turn comes, what we're going to hope is, like, somebody's going to hopefully have, like a purple card that'll help them move far away, and so we won't have that happen to us. And then for every purple card, if you draw a purple card, for every purple card on there, you're just going to move the team in one space in any direction that the red compass dictates. So in this case, if we drew one, it would probably be bad deal because yeah, you can see right there, bam, we'd be connected. Now there are going to be times when you are forced to move, or when you move one of these guys to move, where you are going to leave the board. If you leave the board, you're just going to teleport to the other spot and get over to that other location, just like if you had a continuum. If that would take you, let's say we left the board over here, we were on this spot and we collected this memory, and we went off the board and we popped up here, the same rules are in play as far as running into an obstacle. You need to be able to have a memory stashed to be able to prevent a loss from happening in that case. So the game is going to carry on in that direction. Each player is going to play a card, take an action and keep going. You're just going to keep going. The threat area is going to keep loading up. You're going to draw cards out of the threat area so that you can lower those threats as the game progresses. And hopefully you're going to be able to collect all of the memories off of the board before either you get caught, you run into an obstacle, or the deck runs out. This, I think the best thing about this game is the tension, because of the fact that, like I said, until you kind of really learn how the magnets work, you're always worried about putting a magnet here, there, or somewhere else, and you're worried about the possibility of that hurting you or making you lose the game. And so there's that constant feeling of dread, and I really like that when you're working together for something. Also, I do like the fact that this is a complete open knowledge game, meaning that this isn't a thing where you're hiding your cards and, well, maybe I have a good card to help. No, you just put your cards on the table, and that really prompts everybody at the table to be talking, discussing, saying, hey, what should we do on this turn? What should we do next? And everybody feels like they're involved and having a good time. So, and besides that, the game's just really tough, too, and that's something I really like in co-ops. But let me talk about that and more in my final thoughts. Oh, jeez. Thank you. So, that was the Faceless. I hope you have a good idea of how that works. I mean, obviously, there can be times, I'm going to say this right now, there can be times where, because the magnets are, really hitting the compass a lot, it can kind of end up, really screwing up the magnet. If that ever does happen, and we had it happen a couple times, you can just take one of the magnets and you can rub it on the compass, just for remember when as a kid you did the whole thing where you took a paperclip and you rubbed a magnet on it for 30 seconds and then the paperclip was magnetized? Remember that? If you haven't done that, that's so totally cool. But anyway, so you can do the same thing with this, where you can just magnetize the compass, remagnetize it, and get it set up and working correctly just by taking one of the magnets and rubbing it again. So just and I don't know if that's going to be the case in the final thing, but for this game and the prototype I had, just it happened a few times, and fix it easily, bam, just like that. So don't use this compass out of this game for if you're going to go geocaching or something like that, because obviously it's not going to be pointing to true north as it's supposed to. But anyway, so I already touched on a few of the things I really liked about the game. I mean, the theme is really, really cool. I dig it, and it has some tried and true mechanisms that co-ops use. Card play, and the cards themselves kind of create the threats and create the problems that you have to get through, and the fact that there is it's timed, right? You don't have all the time in the world. The game is just going to get progressively tougher as you go along. So, and also there's things like the random setup. So when you do set up the game, you are allowed to kind of put the obstacles where you want, and the obstacles themselves will kind of determine where the memories are, and they will determine your starting space. So there's some things like that I really like as far as the creation of the game, and so when it isn't just going to be the same board every single time that you play, you can definitely monkey with that a little bit. But you know, like I said, this is a game where it's all open knowledge, and I love that. I love the fact that then now everybody can look at what everybody else has. You know, you don't have any cards, so maybe we should use, you know, that memory. It allows you to draw 3 cards before your turn starts, so you can actually, you know, do something instead of just drawing cards and putting them in your hand. Maybe we want you to draw cards in your hand so we can get rid of some of these threats that are on there. You know, so there's all kinds of like things where people are going to be talking, interacting, and discussing how they're going to beat the game. And obviously, the whole process of the magnets is just super, super cool. I mean, there's just something really tension-filled and dread. I just, like I said, the feeling of dread as you play the game, as you're slowly moving the magnet to the spot you want to be. And then you're like, okay, that's perfect, I hope. And then when you move the compass like one space and all of a sudden you see, it points right towards an obstacle for your second move. You're like, no! You know, you have to use up one of your precious memories to like be able to continue the game. So there's stuff like that that I just really, really like about that game. And you know, I've played games. There's some games that use magnets for really, really cool purposes. I remember there was like Fluch der Mumie, and then there was like there was a sequel to that. I forget what it was called, but I mean that was like a hidden magnet, and the magnet would like go through the board and it would move things around. I can remember I had this game when I was a kid. It's probably still in my parents' basement somewhere. But there was like that genre of back when like games had batteries in them and stuff like that. But there was a game I had that was called Sunken Treasure, and like you actually had like a magnetized kind of like what you had in Operation, where you like, and you go through and like you go through these little slots on the board, and that would allow you to kind of grab like these metal coins and pull them through. God, I love that game. I just thought of that. I used to love playing that game when I was a kid. But you know, so the use of magnets in board games obviously can be used for lots of really cool and neat things. And for a while there, we weren't able to get a few of them in the United States, just because of the fact that like tiny magnets, if like kids can swallow them or something like that. I mean, if you, or adults for that matter, not that, you know, just if you swallow them, they can actually like, they can kill you. I mean, because they can get stuck in your intestines and stuff like that. So it's cool that we're like in a situation now where like games like this that have like the use of a magnet and incorporates it really well into the gameplay. I really like that. I mean, it's just it's something that's just so cool. It adds to like the mystery and the illusion and the paranormal aspect of it as well, because it's like, ooh, the magnet's switching, you know, like, and so it definitely adds a lot to the theme, and something that I really enjoyed, and my family did as well. So there you go. That is the Faceless. This guy's, like I said, really scary. But anyway, if you have any questions about the game, I'd love to hear them. Go ahead and ask away. I'll be happy to answer those as best as I can. As always, thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. Until next time, I'm the Undead Viking. If go ahead and comment below. I'll try to respond to those as much as I can. You have yourself one heck of an awesome day. All right, bye-bye.